I wonder how the first day of the DNC went. Oh boy, I better shut up before I get in trouble. As of course, that wasn't that much different than, of course, the speech from the President of the United States.
Women are not without not allowed, there's not without electoral.
Yeah, that's a little bit awkward, as of course, that wasn't the only awkward moment, as of course, last night represented the kind of bowing out of Joe Biden in replacement of Kamala Harris, surrounded by all the people that, of course, bludgeoned him in the back and, of course, conveniently replaced him, all in the name of saving democracy. As the poor old Yeller guy, he sadly won't see his larger plan of bringing chemical factories to poor neighborhoods. Like the guy really wanted to do that.
All the factories, all those chemical factories are right next to the poorest neighborhoods. They're the ones we're going to bring back.
Now, that's an interesting approach there, but I don't know. It might not go off too well. As, of course, poisoning the pores, isn't really that kind of a populist kind of policy. But hey, they cheered for it, and they said they love him in exchange for it, even including Nancy Pelosi, that through her old age herself muttered the words in a very kind of non-committal way. Yeah, we love you. Oh, no, we don't. And of course, that was a very awkward situation for everyone involved here, as many news reports are talking about specifically how her and a lot of other Democratic elites specifically took it upon themselves to kick out the old man from running for the presidency of the United States and installed a new person that was more convenient for them, that, of course, likely has a bigger chance of winning than, of course, the guy who, wrecked the economy and destroyed the way of life for, the average citizen out there. As, of course, he represented the perfect fall guy for the establishment that carried out all of their orders conveniently and then literally was ditched on the side of the road, given one last speech where he uttered inconsistencies and shouted, yelling angrily about things that you always have to be like, what did he say? Huh? What? This, as what we just saw, was a very interesting perspective for how democracy really works within Washington, D.C., as Joe Biden came out and said that Joe reached deep inside of his soul before deciding not to run, as many insiders and sources are coming forward describing how all of the Bidens feel betrayed about what actually happened here. Old Yeller was even seen crying after his swan song, right after being bumped off of the primetime stage, and now also leaving the Democratic National Convention, no longer being there for Kamala Harris, and now quickly going on vacation, according to many reports. Now, there's a lot of ironic moments last night, not just, of course, Nancy Pelosi holding a "We Love Joe" sign, highlighting how some have described this the fakest party ever. As, of course, the comments afterwards were pretty revealing. As, of course, Nancy Pelosi was on CNN and had this to say.
Have you talked to him? Is my only question.
What I have to do.
Right.
He made the decision for the country. My concern was not about the president. It was about his campaign.
Yeah, you keep saying that, Nancy, as, of course, she's literally saying, yeah, I did it. What? I am the rich old lady kingmaker, and I decide who runs for the presidency of the United States. As that sentiment was also kind of extrapolated here from the latest statements with the current president of the United States, who probably isn't as powerful as a lot of people believe he is.
Oh, I haven't spoken to Nancy at all. I mean, look, no one influenced my decision. No one knew it was coming. What I decided to do was I didn't want to the extent that the party thought they'd move Senate seats or House seats, that would have been the topic you would have had to cover the entire remainder of the campaign.
Yeah, the interesting part there is him saying, I haven't talked to Nancy. They asked if you're mad at her. I haven't talked to her. As a lot of people are saying that this was a larger coup here that, of course, they are not trying to admit to, but given little breadcrumbs, little hints that it was a coup. The New York Times even published an article highlighting how it was kind of a coup, as Donald Trump took to his social media account saying the Democrats staged the first ever coup in America, as crooked Joe Biden was told, "Sorry, Joe, you're losing to Trump big and you can't beat him. You're fired," as the former president of the United States now described how he has to beat two candidates, how that is not fair, but how he believes beating Kamala will be easier than beating crooked Joe, and then later on describing how the Democrats are a threat to democracy. This as the Washington Post is saying, "This are fake coup claims," as it's pretty fair to say this was a coup. The Huffington Post running with similar headlines, "Coup attempting Trump, now falsely accusing Democrats of conducting one against Biden," and again. Who did Trump try to coup? What? I don't get it. This is, I think it's fair to say that the Democratic Party is going to be moving away from Joe Biden, as The Independent wrote a very interesting op-ed piece titled "Joe Biden's Bitter Handover Speech Will Leave a Stain on His Reputation," with a byline that reads, "Shot through barely concealed anger, the U.S. president addressed the DNC, showed why his party was right to force him to step aside," saying, again, the quiet part out loud, that he was forced out. And to think that he wasn't is, again, extremely naive and highlighting how people aren't really paying attention to what's really going on here. As the author goes on saying, "It was a poor speech, not because he slurred his words and stumbled over phrases, but because it was one note, literally a single, slightly shouted tone, but also metaphorically, one long, self-righteous tirade tinged with bitterness." As, of course, one thing that Biden said that was pretty interesting was, of course, highlighting and noting the protesters outside of the DNC that were protesting his Middle Eastern policy that he instituted and put in place, saying specifically, quote, "The protesters outside have a point. Pandering, appeasing statements, trying to, of course, calm down the protesters that are threatening to overshadow the DNC. As, of course, it's his administration that has handed a blank check to this country in the Middle East that they are protesting, while at the same time deploying a huge, significant portion of the U.S. military into that specific region to back that country, to protect it, and to, of course, make sure that they're able to do whatever they want to do in that specific region with the full backing of the United States military. Funded through, of course, the American taxpayer, which the people outside are protesting. As, of course, the Biden administration, along with Kamala Harris, are working as heavily and as hard as they can right now in order to, of course, put on a ceasefire deal here, which probably will not be met anytime soon. They're trying to, of course, save face. They're trying to, of course, appease the protesters, as, of course, this probably will not work here, as a lot of liberal protesters outside of the DNC are literally calling Kamala Harris and Joe Biden war criminals and individuals that, of course, they will not be voting for themselves. This as the DNC has gender-neutral Islamic prayer rooms, which are there to, of course, virtue signal and try to appease some of these people, as it's fair to say that that probably won't work with, of course, the larger kind of weird, scary vans providing some questionable medical procedures outside of the DNC at the same time. As, of course, a lot of protesters have some very serious questions for this administration, and specifically Kamala Harris, as a lot of people are saying, why aren't there any kind of press conferences or interviews specifically addressing this issue that is of concern for so many individuals? What would be Kamala Harris's policy here? Well, again, we don't know because we're not being told, as she is very conveniently skirting the issue, not going to be addressing it, and trying to move as far away from it as she can. As now, we also found out, according to Donald Trump, that she has now refused to do the presidential debate with Fox News that was supposed to happen on September 4th. Now, according to many sources, it no longer will be happening, which is a shame, as, of course, we should be seeing candidates and where they stand on the issues, and where, of course, they will be representing the American people, metaphorically, usually as larger puppets, for the, the corporate globalist, larger kind of agenda out there that essentially kind of always gets their way. I still want to know the kind of language, the placating, the kind of stances that they particularly want to take, as, of course, this is something that's important to a lot of people, And it's something that, of course, we're not getting any complete answers on. And I don't care how many gender-neutral prayer rooms you have. This is an issue of concern that isn't going away anytime soon. All of this as we're going to return back on this channel for live coverage of the DNC of Day 2 as Michelle and Barack Obama are set to address the crowds as we are going to be covering it live here on this particular YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, click the notification button, and if you are a member of LukeUnfiltered.com, you actually get the ability to call in to the show and be a part of the broadcast. Sign up to LukeUnfiltered.com. We have a lot of amazing members-only videos that are going to be released later on today. And, of course, this is only possible because of you and your direct support through LukeUnfiltered.com. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys doing that, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on YouTube.com/WeAreChange.